so we will just do it. Welcome to the Demonetized podcast. Now returned after a hiatus. It's been a bit. We have most of the heads here today. Not all of them now. We got Colin on my cam. And then on cam 2, we got Reiki Boy. He's back. And we have Aaron Donley joining us from all the way from what? Mesa?
East Mesa.
East Mesa.
Apache Junction, honestly.
And, you know, props to this guy. He drove out, what, it was like 45 minutes because we were sitting in traffic and stuff to come be on our podcast. So we have known Donley in various stages for, a while, but in different ways. So Donley worked at because we talked about it on one of the casts, right? When we got fired, we said we worked at Uber, right?
Yeah,
before that, we were really stealthy. No, Pat did. Pat spelled
that's right. In the first episode, we said we worked at Uber, we won't work.
No, we didn't. No, so we were super like low key. And in the same way now, we'll not talk about where we work now, but yeah. So we know Donley from Uber. You're from Pittsburgh originally, right?
Virginia originally. Went to school in Pittsburgh. Loved it, but not as much as I love Phoenix. So it's good to be out here. Yeah.
And you moved out. You moved out for Uber, right? And you did kind of the commuting thing long term, right?
Yes, I did. I was actually out here for like 6 months before I moved out here permanently, but it's been a good decision in my life. I'm happy.
Now, something we've talked about that I think it seems kind of weird to all of us that have spent a lot of time in Phoenix is that the people from out of town end up kind of settling in the like weirdest parts of the valley, right?
Like not central places.
So, I mean, granted, right, like we think Central is the best because it's pretty great, but I get that there are other places to live, but I just don't quite understand how people show up. And then it's just like Mesa, Gilbert, you know, it's just like, oh man.
Guadalupe.
And then like even the same thing happened when Peter came up for Tyler Troth's birthday the other day. He's like, he and his girlfriend were driving, and they're like, it's really nice around here. Should we live up here? And it was like,
let's pay for that.
I was like, so did he buy that house or did he just renting it? Oh, he bought it?
Yes, he did. The thing is like, I don't know, those parts of the area remind me of more Pittsburgh. You know, like it's
in what way? Like, just in kind of the suburb setup, or what?
Yeah, like it gives you that like rural feeling. It's obviously not in the city, but Pittsburgh, like most people actually live a lot like outside of the city. Unless you got some money, you're living in town. But a lot of people are mainly living about 20 miles out.
I find that to be kind of standard with parts of the country that are divided by rivers and like bodies of water. Kind of just forces people to like not be in layers like Phoenix is, but then also like actual greenery. You know, like actual living in a forest. Yeah. Because here, even if you live 5 miles just in the middle of nowhere, it's still just like, hey, there's everyone, you know?
Yeah, like having a yard definitely like makes it feel like you actually own a house. You know?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't imagine living in a city and not having a yard. Like that really would suck for me.
It's definitely a trade-off. We've talked a lot about in kind of some of the other episodes, like that balance between like accessibility and cost and cool stuff to do versus like free time and all that.
You don't have to take care of a yard.
That's true. I do want a garage though, real bad.
Sweet.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But see, like, okay, so I'm coming from Virginia, and my parents worked in D.C., so like that was easily 45 commute at the smallest, like with no traffic. So like 25-minute commute is literally nothing for me. But I know a lot of people from around here think that it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's just like a part of the day-to-day process, so you just kind of live with it.
And we're drinking mimosas, so shout out to Colin. Yeah, I was troubleshooting, so I didn't get through most of mine. But wow, Colin, nice job. But yeah, so apologies. We're obviously down Sipes. Sipes had a gig, right? Sipes is doing Sipes stuff.
Sipes stuff.
We appreciate all that Sipes does and miss him dearly. But in the meantime, our audio setup is slightly jank, but hopefully it'll be good enough. And we still got video going and stuff, although I'm being lazy and not doing our monitor that we normally do. So if we talk about anything cool, you will not get to see it. So
we can like
just show pictures to the camera. We have done that. So Donley's been briefed slightly. We all work together, and he's like, "What is this about?" And we said, "It's kind of about whatever the hell." So I think a great place to start, with most of the things being art-centered, and something that Donley can speak on, is the passing of Mac Miller, since that happened pretty recently, right?
We were talking about bikes.
What? Oh, no. He's leaving, talking about motorcycles. But, so, it's kind of bizarre with the whole, like, actual Pittsburgh thing, right?
Yeah, man. It sucks because, I don't know, there's a lot of influential artists that come out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I mean influential as in, like, a part of, like, day-to-day life. Like, when you think of Pittsburgh, they're not really known for their music, but there's quite a few people who come out of there. Like,
who else? Like, who's...
well, you got Wiz Khalifa. I don't know if you want, like...
The Wiz.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know if a lot of people like that sort of stuff. But Mac Miller was definitely something that hit home, you know?
Yeah.
He's one of those, like, young guns who I listened to all throughout college, definitely in high school as well.
Because when did Blue Slide Park come out?
2011.
Yeah.
That was the first indie record to go platinum, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Get out, I didn't even know this.
Yeah.
Because I remember Blue Slide Park being kind of the first. I would have been like a junior in high school at that point, and that was kind of the first like big. I mean, you saw like Mac Miller. What was his mixtape, right? Remember that? You remember that, Donley?
See, I didn't actually start listening to him until
it was,
Blue Slide Park. So.
No, it was Kids, right?
Kids.
Yeah, and so I remember like seeing Kids referenced on like Dat Piff and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I remember like listening to it a little bit, but it wasn't until like Blue Slide Park showed up that became something that was like actively on my like rotation. And I have a lot of fond memories of like driving around those kind of like car stuff, you know, just like Blue Slide Park going on and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think specifically for like our kind of age group, it was definitely like a hit in like the high school nostalgia kind of. And then like Swimming came out, and Swimming is really good and like super listenable, and like kind of it was interesting to see how even some of it felt kind of like some of his production was kind of influenced by like Ariana Grande a little bit. Like some of those kind of dreamscape things, you could kind of see some of those connections.
Right, he was like really influenced by jazz. He was one of the best like live sets I ever saw too.
And you saw him at Flognaw, right?
Yeah, he always had a live set, so he brought out like it was like just like a live band, so drums and bass and like
Thundercat for like there, right?
And he brought out Thundercat, and Sean Martin from Snarky Puppy. He's a badass like synth player. He was there, like he does the traveling like synth for his stuff, which is crazy. And Robert Glasper was on his last album, Divine Feminine.
That was a great album.
First and last track.
And that's like the shittiest thing, right? Is it wasn't, or maybe not the shittiest thing, but like he was on kind of a roll, right? And then
he was
like
actually preparing for his tour, like
a
month
he
from
announced
now.
it like the day before, like that night when he was live streaming.
And it's just a bummer. I think, did they officially say what it was? I'm pretty sure it was drug overdose.
It was
right?
definitely,
Drug overdose is what they said, but then the family came out and said that there wasn't any actual record of what the reason was for his death.
They're doing autopsy now.
But see, also I definitely heard that someone like cleared everything out of his room before like the police got there. So I don't know. There was definitely like some tampering of evidence, but like as more of like a whole, Pittsburgh has been a really bad place for like heroin, and all of Washington County, and which is a little bit south of Pittsburgh, has been like known as the heroin capital. So it's very prevalent around those areas, and especially with like the introduction of fentanyl. And all that
so that's what I would guess it was. Is I would guess that he was doing like something else, probably Xanax. But I mean that's what killed Lil Peep, right? It was the Xanax laced with fentanyl, you know, like so. I think there's a lot of that stuff where it's like they're just so much in the culture that no one's testing shit, you know? It's like someone gives them something and pretty soon it's spliced with something and then they die, you know? Like, it's just brutal.
Especially with something like fentanyl where it's like very, very minimum. Like, it's what a speck will...
Well, and very Chinese. Like, it's very much like some of the pills that show up are like 300% strength and some are like 30% strength. Like, they're just not made very well. So, like, that's what it's happened with a lot of people, too, is, like, even just, because basically they swapped, they, like, do this weird swap where, like, they start with, like, prescription pain pills, and then that's, like, 10 or 15 bucks a day, or, like, you know, 15 bucks, like, a pill. Then they go to heroin because the same fix is, like, $2. Right. But then they can split a full-strength fentanyl and get, like, a whole day out of, like, one of those. or their tolerance just keeps going up. And like, yeah, the Chinese fentanyl and stuff is just, it's just such a nightmare.
It's pretty bad, man. There's lots of like cleanups and stuff around various parks. Like there's just needles everywhere.
It's crazy.
I remember working in like Home Depot and Lowe's way back in the day, and you just sit in the parking lot, there's just needles everywhere. It's just kind of like
that bad, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But I mean, it's the culture there. Like
it's
the
winter.
weather is
winter.
The weather is
That's
always.
why Minnesota's
shit.
number like 5 alcoholism, but no one's like it doesn't seem like that. Like it's not like raunchy, but it's just like cold.
Just normal.
Like people just I mean you're from Colorado, like same thing, right?
I don't know. Colorado's like the happiest state or something, isn't it? We don't have like the big depression because like there's like 300 days of sunshine in Colorado.
Yeah.
So it's
the gray,
it
the
will
frozen
be winter.
gray.
It'll be snowing and it'll be snowy, but it'll be sunny the whole time unless it's blizzarding at that moment. So there's not like Colorado's pretty happy, honestly. There's not a lot of
the frozen gray is when you off yourself.
That's when you're
it's
like
it's not the snow that's the problem. It's like the constant dreariness, the rain, so on and so forth. Like Pittsburgh itself is like a great city.
It's
I really
February.
do. Yeah, like I love it.
February is the off yourself time.
Yeah,
because it's like friggin' snowy. Well, it's not. Oh, we have moss.
like a fucking
Have you figured that it's moss season? That happens in Phoenix. Literally every like spring,
grab and strangle them out.
every fall, it's moth time.
But no, there's a lot of good things about Pittsburgh. Like the people are great, but I mean you got to think about it. We're all the same. You like throw us in different situations, we're all gonna relatively react the same. It's just kind of what you're surrounded by.
Sorry,
And the weather is.
I'm adjusting my pop filter here, so my audio is just shitty. It's like pop, 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 pop.
You're just shitty.
That's true. I'm shitty. Oh man, I'm strong now. Okay. Cool.
Oh, you dick.
Well, and it's interesting too because like you don't, at least to me, don't seem that into hip hop, right? And like a deep nerdy level, but like people like Mac Miller were enough to like kind of break into your kind of playlist, right?
Yeah, like there's a connection there for sure. Especially like being around the same areas, like you kind of just listen to what everyone else is listening to, and then you really start to learn to appreciate what is actually going on.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not big into hip hop.
And I didn't realize that Blue Slide Park, like Frick Park, was only like 15 minutes away from where we did training for Uber.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's like, man, like that to me was kind of a small world thing when I actually like finally looked up where Blue Slide Park was. And I was like, wow, I was like walking around, like it was probably like that it's Palmetto Brothers, right? No, who's the sandwich people?
Primanti
Brothers. It was like probably that one that like they went to, like on the strip, like from there and like mobbed, you know? Like it's crazy. Like
That is crazy.
Pittsburgh is really unique in that like it's a very, very small landmass. Like if you're comparing it to where we are now, like I don't know, Pittsburgh has like 300,000 people, whereas there's like 6 million here.
Yeah.
Like vastly different, and the landmass itself is only like I don't know, maybe like 15-mile radius. It's really not that big.
It's super cool though.
There's
It's
a
like
lot
weird
going
to
on.
describe Pittsburgh. When I was there, it seemed like weird colonial, like tropical.
Yeah.
And then there'd be like a building just like on the ground, and then everyone just be like, we just drive around that.
Yeah. Everything is very old there though too. Like nothing has been updated since like 1940. It's pretty crazy.
It's interesting how those like kind of industrial towns have like a endearing amount of brutal to them, where like stuff's kind of gritty and like a little shitty, but always in like a we'll get through it kind of way.
Yeah, it's the history.
Yeah, and that's something I miss about like Minneapolis a lot. It was a lot of like General Mills factory and a lot of like Watertown factory kind of stuff where like you're walking around downtown, you're like, this stuff's been here a while, and like at one point this definitely was like the shitty part of the world that like people thousands of people worked at, and now it's like a brewery, you know, or something like that. Like Pitt and Minneapolis actually were like pretty identical. Like it seemed, I got like weird nostalgia stuff when I was there.
I mean, the big history with Pittsburgh is the coal and coal mining and steel mills and stuff. Like, I wish we had the monitor so that we could see old school pictures of Pittsburgh, but like it was really bad at one point where you couldn't even really see. Like the air was just almost black.
Really?
Yeah, it was. It's come a long way, and they slowly like moved on to other things, and now Pittsburgh's becoming like this big tech industry. and it's definitely turned things around.
Damn. Okay. Here we go. Pittsburgh smog photos.
Yeah.
Shit. Look at that.
Fuck.
Look at that. That's
pretty
brutal.
Oh god.
Jesus.
Yep.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at
Straight
that.
up, just black
There's
air.
people just in the streets. There's no cars. It's just coal burning. Like, that's crazy.
I love
Wow.
our new lo-fi setup.
Yeah, lo-fi, dude. Lo-fi hip hop.
Lo-fi podcast to listen to. And
Yeah, so I've been kind of changing stuff around here. So hopefully, I want the podcast setup to be like a much more setup, like drop-in kind of thing. I've even been looking at, once I get that table, I'm going to drill basically the like outlet sides of these into the table. So we could have 4 people sit, a mic stand on it, and it's a headphone plug and a mic plug. And it's all just like short runs and
Oh
stuff.
man, I'm kind of digging all these like loose cables just sitting around the table.
It's
dude.
somewhat endearing. And
balled it up and threw it on the
yeah, but I don't know. The hour setup definitely like hinders the like
Yeah,
getting into it.
let me set up right.
Donley, what do you do?
God, what don't
What's
I
your
do?
thing?
My thing? Do we all have like one thing? Or is it
Not
like-
really.
One
A lot of
thing.
things.
One thing that we're really good at.
I don't know.
We're
Like
just one-dimensional.
that's the thing. Like I love a lot of things. I'm not good at any of them though.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
recently, within the last 3-4 years, I've really gotten into motorcycles. But like I grew up riding dirt bikes and stuff. But I'm not like I don't know. A lot of the stuff I learned a lot from you actually on that sort of side. I know jack shit about cars, but like I've learned if you just kind of like throw yourself in there, you'll figure your shit out. Like life is not that complicated.
Yeah, it's like we've talked about this with like different hobbies and stuff. How much of it is in like a healthy way, like a learning experience from other
Same
people.
mentality.
And how strolling into something saying I don't know anything but I definitely know that, like that just you end up with so much exchange of knowledge in that kind of way.
Well, that was like the whole concept of the podcast, right?
Totally.
It was like all of us knew a bunch of shit about random stuff, and it was kind of just like we'd start talking about it, and then people would learn shit.
Yeah. Like even you were listening to like old episodes,
like the
right?
first episode, and it was weird like listening to a podcast with yourself on it, because you'd listen to someone say something and then you'd think like what you would say to that response, and then like you would come in on the podcast and say that, and you're like, whoa. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
And
That's
it
what
was,
I would have said.
it was weird to see like where you learned stuff, because I retained all the knowledge from like you guys, like you talking about cars, you talking about we were talking about like some financial stuff or whatever, and I knew all that, and then I was listening to it, and you're like, it's weird to see where you learn things.
And that's
Like,
why
damn.
I've found it actually really, even part of the process, right? We talked about we're mostly doing this podcast for us, right? Like not that many people are going to listen to it.
Yeah.
I know I've had some people be like, hey, it's like fun to like hear you, because like it's a lot of like Minnesota people and stuff. But I think to be able to, it's a rare opportunity to be able to freeze a moment in time where you did learn something, or where you can pin back to like, this is where how I thought about something, or how I thought about thinking about something, how that process like flipped, and to be able to have that on camera and seeing that kind of like, oh shit, like I've had that, and so
Yeah.
I think that's really cool, and maybe something that like, for as much as people like are documenting like most sections of their life at this point, like via like Instagram and stuff like that, I think there's some of that like honest, genuine, just learning that gets totally like missed out on.
Even more here than any of that.
Totally.
So all of that kind of has some weird thing where you're like trying to be cool or something.
Yeah,
Talking about?
dude,
Definitely not trying to be
it's-
cool. Like
it's
I am
on
just
Instagram.
for the listeners, viewers, whatever you call them. Like I am a podcast virgin. This is my first time,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
so thank you for. Let's keep it civil, but yeah, I don't want to say anything that'll.
Well, it's kind of weird talking to people that you've been hanging out with for like an hour and a half, like it's
just
you're like,
start the podcast
you're like, hey,
at some
how
random point.
are you? And they're like, isn't it weird? But yeah, we're pretty fast and loose. The microphones give it like an air of like formality to it, but it's all pretty.
I don't know. You can say
I
whatever.
don't know. We're just literally. This is just for James Derrickson. Shout out James Derrickson,
Hey
dude.
James,
Hey.
Hey, shout out James.
I hope work's going good. Have a good day.
As for
some lights or something.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, moving here, right? Like, what did you feel about Phoenix? Because we got to Phoenix for college.
Oh man.
And so it's like definitely like a different transition kind of period where you came in here on someone else's dime for work for a while. Nice. But you're still kind of work guy. Like, I know we've talked about that, right?
So I love work. And honestly, like, I don't know. There's something about this industry that just gets me going.
For context, we are still in self-driving cars. If you tried to piece the puzzle pieces together at all, you could totally figure it out real easy and quick. But we're going to make it difficult for you. So we're still in self-driving stuff.
Right. Just find me on LinkedIn.
Find him on LinkedIn. You'll find Donley.
Don't follow me though, please.
We all work for SpaceX.
No, you're good.
Nope,
SpaceX. That's who we work for.
Yeah, Elon.
SpaceX.
Elon is my boss.
We're all going to Mars in a month. Tune into that episode.
But back to the question. So I don't know. It was sort of like a mix of a lot of things. So I was actually in like a really good relationship. So I thought at the time. I was in like a 3-year-long relationship living in Pittsburgh. I came out here.
You had like a spot together and stuff too, right?
Yeah,
like every time you'd come back, like it was to her, right?
Yeah, we were together for like 3 years, and I don't know. I hate to say it, but work probably like drove us apart. You know, I was out here for months at a time. I would go home for a weekend, but there was something about Phoenix that I really liked.
Well, and to be fair too, right? There's a certain amount of weird, like fucked up frontierism that comes from this kind of tech startup-y work, right? Like, especially in the case of us working at Uber, and especially like the stuff that you were doing with like kind of startup team stuff, very much like live, breathe, die, work, right?
Yeah, right.
And there's something kind of like weirdly expeditionary about that that's really hard to relate to other people. It's like really hard to relate to someone working a 9 to 5 or someone in school, something like that. They're like, what's work like? And you're like, geez, like it's a bunch of shit, you know?
It's not like, oh, I just sit in this little cubicle all day doing my thing. Like, I couldn't imagine myself maybe like 20 years from now doing that, but like right now I've learned so much.
It's fun having a real answer to like, what do you do? You know, like what's a daily, like what's your day look like? And you're like, it's a massive cluster with like a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, like it changes every single day, and I don't know, like it really makes you learn a lot about yourself for sure, because you're testing your own abilities to like, how can I adapt in this situation?
So you're traveling, you're all run and gun set up, right? But then you were still coming home for a random weekend here and there to your girlfriend, right?
Yeah, so we like, the biggest thing was like we had 2 dogs, and we were like on the road. We were about to get married. She actually came out here for a week, and we like toured everything. Yeah, and she was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna move out here for sure." Like she loved it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, like I just got so infatuated with work that it ended up like overtaking my life, and I loved work more than I loved being with her. So it was kind of like I had to make this ultimatum. And ended up just kind of like ditching everything and leaving. And I feel really bad about it, but at the same time, like it's my life too. And I kind of thought it was like a good decision for the time, and I don't regret anything. It's been good out here. Like I don't know, this is the outdoors. Like I'm a very outdoorsy person, and I think outdoors. A lot of people probably don't think Phoenix because it's like, oh shit, it's hot as fuck, you know. Like, but you go out of the city and you got everything.
Phoenix ends up being kind of I think a really good home base for a lot of stuff like that. Like a lot of good travel, a lot of good like adventure kind of stuff. And I think that's where people can get kind of like, I don't think this is the greatest place on a daily basis to bop around, right? But it is if you're taking full advantage of the setup and the location, then this is a totally fine place to live and commute around. But then you gotta go north for the weekend kind of thing.
Right. And you don't really have that escape in Pittsburgh.
No,
it's
no, you're landlocked.
It's different.
Yeah,
it's different. I mean, you can go like 2-3 hours away, but it's still the same sort of weather. Whereas here, you're in the valley. Yeah, like you're surrounded by mountains in a valley, and it's just you got this massive heat wave, like you're in a convection oven all day.
Yeah,
and once you get over that other mountain, it's like bam, 30 degrees cooler.
When I've had people from out of town, that's what's blown their minds the most. Is like from Minneapolis, it was like, what, you're gonna go Chicago, 9 hours?
Yeah.
With somewhere in Wisconsin, like Milwaukee, you know, like whatever.
Yeah.
But here it's like, oh, maybe I'll go to California.
Or
or
like
Mexico or Colorado or just up north 2 hours and it's different, you know?
Right, and I think that's what was so appealing is the vast diversity of where you can go. Like, San Diego's a 5-hour drive. Vegas is a 4-hour drive.
Dude, the amount of people that haven't been to Rocky Point.
Oh god, dude, that's less than both of us. 3 hours away.
I know. I hadn't been to Rocky Point until like May when I was over there for mission work. I was like, this is 3.5 hours away.
It's beautiful.
And like an easy border cross. Have you guys been to Rocky Point? You haven't been to Rocky Point. Have you been to Rocky Point?
I don't even have a passport.
I haven't been fucking anywhere in Phoenix.
We need
I've
to
been
get you-
Have you been to Bisbee?
Nope.
Go to Bisbee.
Oh, no.
Bisbee's cool.
Dude, I've been here for 2 years, and I've already been to more places than you guys have.
No, but that's the difference, right? Is when you like come here for college and you can't just like go do stuff all the time because you don't have any money.
Money definitely helps.
You guys showed up on someone else's dime with a bunch of money, and it's like, hey, and real weekends. Shout out real weekends. I miss you. It's been years.
We have 1 day real weekend, kind of. Like a one day. But the Friday's like the get your shit done day. Go to the bank, go to the doctor, do shit, schedule all day. And then Saturday is like the not do anything. Or you have Sunday, Monday, so then Monday would be your day to do that, you know?
No, I have Friday.
Yeah,
I have Friday,
You
Saturday.
guys are on the same schedule.
Yeah.
Oh.
We should go to Flag.
Well, then you do.
Can we go to Flag for a day?
Fucking right, we can.
You haven't done Locket Meadow yet. Have
No,
you,
I
Rake?
I haven't been to the
What is
volcano
that?
either.
Locket Meadow? We'll go to Locket Meadow.
I want to check out the volcano. I haven't been there.
Have you been to the lava tubes?
There's a
No,
volcano?
that's what I mean. Like, I haven't done that.
Okay, cool. We'll have to do that.
No.
There's this awesome burger
What?
place.
There's a volcano in Flagstaff?
Yeah, dude, it's inactive, but I mean,
It
it's
used
still
to
a
be.
volcano.
It used to be a caldera.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. And there's a set of lava tubes where you hike a mile and a half
Oh, I've heard of
underground
that,
with
yeah.
like flashlights on. And then we
Yeah,
brought
I
pipes and we
remember
smoked pipe tobacco at the very end of it. It was really
Tobacco,
fun.
sure.
I did.
Yeah,
For the viewers.
I
tobacco.
don't smoke weed.
Wacky tobacco.
Don't do
probably.
don't do drugs, kids, or you'll end up like
Bad
Will
for your
Feet.
lungs.
Adrian from episode 4 and
Go
5
find a
rode
cotton
mile
ball
and a
video.
half down those tubes, and then had real bad diarrhea and had to get out of the tubes real fast.
Adrian did.
Adrian.
We had our Adrian on the podcast. Those were the two echoey episodes.
Yeah.
You probably don't know
Yeah,
who he is
try
because you
watching
skipped
them.
him.
Yeah, you probably skipped those episodes, and I don't blame you. I skipped them too, dude.
I didn't even listen. I only listen to one.
It's brutal. Like it's really hard to listen to.
Adrian, fun fact, Adrian is now moving to Pittsburgh, which is quite funny. Yeah. I feel bad for him. I hope he's only doing it temporarily because it can really take a lot out of you.
Our friend Adrian's moving back to Pittsburgh to work for Uber again, which I can't blame him for that from a work perspective, but from a life perspective, it's definitely shitty. He bought a house. He's like engaged now, which he did all at once, which was its own thing. But
I mean, me too, so I can't
Yeah,
really...
that's fair.
Can't blame him for-
Yeah.
But, I mean, he I don't know. Pittsburgh is one of those things that's a great city to visit. Like San Francisco, right? Like, great
Yeah.
cities to visit and check out, like, experience the newness
It
of
was
it.
awesome. Pittsburgh. I went there.
It's
It's different living there.
It's literally like a do you want to be like rich in Phoenix or poor in SF?
Yeah.
And
Or,
I
or
would-
NYC or anything
And I
like
would
that.
take rich in Phoenix most days. Not every day, but most days.
You can be rich in Pittsburgh pretty easily, though. Like,
Oh,
you can buy a
no,
house for like
yeah.
$100K.
But then got winter. Winter's just off my list for another like 5 years, and then maybe I can move back. But
I could deal with the winter. That's why I think I really would like Colorado, because I can deal with the winter. It's not the snow or the cold. It's
You'd
the
like
lack
U-
of sun.
you'd like
Yeah.
Utah.
Yeah, no.
I love Utah.
Have you been to Utah?
But like
Hell
Park
yeah.
City. Park City's great.
Utah, I really like Utah because it's like all of the outdoorsiness and stuff of Colorado, but also that Yahoo Murica of some parts of Arizona, kind of in one spot. You know?
It's actually really similar.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
not really expensive.
It's too green.
Oh gosh.
I like
Okay.
brown. Yeah, brown's
Do you know do you know the story behind that? My fiance. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
why I
So
brought it up.
since you mentioned that, I might as well like talk about it. So
So yeah, you already said it now.
I am recently engaged, and to a girl I found out here, and I actually worked with her. It's quite a funny story. But anyways, we don't need to talk about that. But anyways,
He doesn't want that on permanent record
Get off-
on the
get off
internet
the
for anyone to access.
So shoes.
so we were going on like a 2-month long hiatus from Uber because we were like.
Oh, we know. We talked
People
about it.
can like do their own research on that. I don't think.
No, that's why the podcast started. They
Yeah.
know. That was episode 1. It was like, we are not working right now.
So during that time, that was the time I introduced her to my family for the first time. So since we had all this time, we were like, fuck it, like let's just drive out there.
Big boy Don. Yo, you drove to Pitt?
We drove out there.
Why?
And it was like the third time I drove cross country. No big deal. Like it's actually quite fun. First few times.
Do you go like through Chicago kind of thing? Or no?
So this time I actually went through Denver and
I
did like an out of the way. So like we didn't have like a
Yeah.
schedule. So just like let's do whatever.
That's a fun long way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely like you can map it out however you want and you can see a whole. That's why.
How'd you do it though? Like what? Did you go up through Denver, but then over through like Omaha,
Yeah, we went through like Kentucky
Indianapolis?
and Tennessee.
Nice.
Oh, you went
So-
down. Okay, cool.
So like we went up and
Durango
down.
in Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my
Actually, that's
hometown.
where.
Yeah.
Oh, Derrickson's from there too, right?
Yeah.
Did you not?
They know each
We
other.
Yeah, we know each other.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. Anyways, but yeah, like that's the great thing about the U.S. is like it's so vastly different from.
You know what's the best part about the U.S.? Every part.
Every part.
All right.
Sorry, keep going.
Got him.
As long as we keep politics out of this, I'm okay with it.
I love Trump.
Trump.
If Trump was here right now, I'd kiss his succulent lips.
I'm gonna go get a flagpole
Gross,
right
dude.
now.
Oh god.
Put one out there.
Sorry, Donley, keep
How
going.
does his wife do it, man?
He doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Even know.
He hires porn stars instead.
Better question is how does Stormy do it?
Alright, we're getting. Oh god. Yeah, for
Oh.
real. All right, we're getting so
Money.
sidetracked. Anyways, so back to the story.
Dude, welcome to my podcast.
So I'm taking my most recent fiance. We were not engaged at the time.
Your most recent fiance.
My
Woo!
my only fiance I've ever had.
There you go.
there we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. What's
You can say recent. If you want. Most recently, like there was Becky. Yeah, fuck her. There was a.
Anyways,
Oh, that's funny.
we were just driving across the country, like just killing time, enjoying ourselves. And we go through Kentucky and Tennessee. Tennessee is one of my most favorite states in the country. I love Pigeon Forge. But you have to go when it's like not so busy because it gets pretty touristy. But like lots of hiking, mountains, trekking.
Once again, Colin shows up with a full bottle.
Like
a
Get lit.
protein bar or
Excellent.
something.
Yeah,
I'll
cool,
just
yeah,
bring
cool
it over
bar.
here for everyone.
This is a long story for not that funny of a story. But
So I'm
anyways,
gonna give you the option right now.
I'll cut
You
to
can
the chase.
stop the story if you want.
No.
Otherwise, I'm fascinated.
I'll
This
cut
is
to the-
really
I'll cut to the
compelling.
choice.
I'm just glad
Chase.
you're here, Donley. I'm just.
So she's actually she's Hispanic. She grew up, born and raised in El Paso. Her parents were born in Juarez, and she moved out to Arizona looking for work after she graduated from UTEP.
Hey, she's an engineer, right?
She's an electrical engineer.
That's
yeah,
dope.
dude,
That's so
she's
cool.
she is so
I
smart.
wish I was an engineer.
She worked on the freaking Orion space project, like
What?
for NASA, dude. She's
Really?
fucking
Electrical
legit.
Oh, that's crazy.
Shout out to James.
Yeah,
That's our
But
only
she's-
list.
old Jimmy
So-
D there, dude.
So long story short, she has always been living in the desert. El Paso is very similar to Phoenix. If you guys have never been there, it's not as hot, but it's very similar.
El Paso's a shithole.
It's pretty shithole.
I had a roommate from there. He was one of the worst people I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, it's pretty
Shout out to
dirty.
that guy.
Fuck you, Cody.
There's a military base there.
Not Cody.
There's a military base there that I think actually like is what brings most of the other people. Not other people. Sorry, I'm not racist. Promise. It's a very
Other
influenced by
people?
Hispanics. So
I think you
the
need to get
military
your. I think you need to get your story straight and get it
military
straight
base
quick.
brings a lot of
There's other people
white
around
people
there.
into
Uh-huh.
town. So, yeah. Anyways, she's never been out of the desert before, so we're driving across. Dude, we're gonna lose views like crazy.
We never had him. We never had him to
Some
begin with.
other people down there.
Anyways.
Never had him to begin with.
I'm so sidetracked. This is my second drink, so I'm already.
Oh,
feeling
okay,
good.
all right,
Yeah,
nice.
so-
First drink. Don't worry.
So,
Six
the first time she's ever experienced like coniferous forests,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
deciduous stuff.
Yeah.
So we're like going through Tennessee, which is one of the most beautiful states ever. Like the drive is amazing, and we're going through. And I'm like, so, like this is one of my favorite states. Like, what do you think? First impressions, go. Just like her first thing that comes to her mind is, it's too green.
It's too green. Go to Hawaii. This
I'm
place
like-
sucks. Too.
I'm sorry. Like, so how does that like process in your mind? Like, how can something be too green? You know? So like blew me away, and it really like made me backtrack and think like, all right, maybe is this the right like sort of position for me right now? Because this is one of my favorite areas in the world. I'm, like second guessing myself with my decision, and I think eventually I'll like coax her into moving out there. But you kind of have to, I don't know. I guess growing up in a desert area your entire life and just seeing brown and red your entire life, I guess it can be kind of overwhelming.
I don't think that's like a. I don't think it's like a fixed thing, because there's definitely been people who, like, I come here, and I think, growing. I never had mountains, right? Like Minnesota's like super flat, so I smile every time I'm driving down the 51. Or through McDowell there, like through McDowell, and there's just mountains everywhere. I'm like, this is so cool.
That's
like,
what I love about this place,
right? And so like to me, I see the desert as a really like functional beauty. Like all the plants and all the animals are like designed to survive here, and like I think that's really pretty. A lot of great landscapes and sunsets and stuff.
City built around mountains. Which
Yeah,
is cool.
but I've had people from Minnesota show up and be like, "It is too like it's not green here at all.
Yeah.
Where's the water? There's none of that." So I don't think it's a set thing. So I think there's some people who grow up around the desert and want that forever, but then there are other people who immediately, that's where people from El Paso flee to Minnesota or Pittsburgh or anything like that, because they're like, it's just different. It's a different scenery,
I think what brought me out here, I mean, honestly, like it was on the company dime, so I was able to do a lot of things that most people probably wouldn't have been doing if they were traveling from out of town. And Phoenix is more appreciated once you get outside of it. Like, Phoenix as a whole is great, but what's really enticing is once you get out of the city.
I've always said not a great place. Well, I've said like okay place to visit, but like great place to live.
If you can deal with the heat.
If you can deal with the heat.
That's true. If you flew in here, you'd kind of be like...
Although if you think
it's
about
like
it,
Vegas, right? Like
yeah, pretty much.
You get out of Vegas, like what the fuck is there?
The second you get off the strip, you're like, wait a second.
Although to be fair, I think we also can get too stuck in the fact that we do live here.
Yeah.
Where like if someone came in and said, I have 5 days, what should I do in the Phoenix area? I could come up with a 5-day itinerary, no problem, of like cool stuff to do.
But
like stop by the art museum, like blah blah blah, go up to Flag Sedona for a day,
that's the thing,
like
though,
blah blah
like,
blah.
You would be traveling like on the list. It better be like go to Flagstaff or Sedona.
Right,
like,
but
let's get out of the city.
But that's also an easy sell, right? It's not like go 6 hours north and there's dope stuff. You're like, dude, just make this loop, eat lunch in Flag, and come back down. It's wonderful.
Do it in a day.
Totally, yeah. Grand Canyon, like it's only 4 hours.
That's the thing, like what? A month ago, it was 118 here, and I went up to Flagstaff just for the day, just to chill out. 2-hour drive. It was 65 degrees.
Nice drive too.
Yeah.
Up to 17 like that. It's really just
there's another
not
one you can take that's even.
I get off when I'm doing my motorcycle or when I had my Miata. I would get off on the 116.
Kind of like before the Sedona exit.
Yeah. And then I'd go up through Sedona and Cottonwood and Prescott, and then it's all like windy roads up, and then you cut over into Flag.
That one's fine.
And then I'd eat in Flag and come back down, and that was very much my like. You just do that like around this time, and it's like 65 during the day. I just had the top down, just blasting through mountain roads.
Yeah, it's super fun. There's one off to the right too. That's just all forest campgrounds.
Yeah, through like actual like Camp Verde.
Yeah.
Like through actual national forest, yeah.
Good brewery out there, by the way, if you've never been.
Which one?
I think it's Camp Verde Brewery.
Oh,
it's
really?
Like,
I haven't been to that one.
It's kind of off the maps, but it's pretty good.
Can we talk about how most beer is essentially the same? And that there are lots of beers that are good, but I'm not really hunting down anything.
Yeah, it's more
That's
about the
where I've been
environment, You meet a lot of good people going to breweries. I don't know, just...
We're talking about beer in general? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. That's just my like 10-second rant on beer in general. Like I got to the point where I was like kind of beer nerdy. And now I'm to the point where it's just like, they're like, oh, what do you think? You're like, yeah, it was a good beer. Like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like,
They're all different, which is good.
I think if you go far enough into beer, you start to forget how little people know about beer.
Yeah.
Because like, whenever you're thinking of the beer is kind of all the same, I'm assuming you're thinking like various different types of lagers are all kind of basically the same thing.
Right. I'm getting to the point.
Most people are like, beer is a Bud Light, and you're like, no, there's a stout, there's a like.
Although now,
vastly different.
Little Petey tweeted about that the other day, but it has happened where literally like now the craft brewing is all pretty mainstream, and hipsters are going back to grandpa beers, which is like an interesting thing.
What would you explain as a grandpa beer?
like Schlitz and like like Schlitz and PBR and Mickey's and like Red Dog and Old Milwaukee. I don't know, like that, but that's what I kind of end up drinking now, right? Like I have a bunch of PBRs in my fridge because it's like it's like at a certain point I want something cold and cheap, and that's my like garage beer.
Right, that's the thing though. Like you come home from work and you just want a beer. It's like you're not gonna go for like
it's
an
like
$8 craft.
It's like I'm really into sours lately, and it's just like everyone's into sours now. It's like everyone was into IPAs, and now everyone's cranking out IPAs. Because that was the crafty thing, but now Samuel Adams is making a bunch of them, and so now that's just like the normal thing. So like, I don't know. To me, it's just like drink what you like.
Just trends. I mean, that's everything though.
Yeah, and that's what I've done with coffee. It's like I was pretty coffee nerdy for a while in college, and now it's just like, is it warm? Is it not shitty? Like, I'll drink it. Like that's fine. I still love the times where I can like set up and like get nerdy about it. That's still super fun and cool, and it's been fun at work. Colin's been bringing in some good coffee, and we've been doing pour overs and stuff, so that's fun. But for the most part, it's just like
just whatever's hot.
Kinda.
Whatever's there.
Whatever's there with, honestly, most of it's like whatever is there with good people. That's most of it, right?
Yeah.
Like
What's the best beer?
Like what's the best beer? It's like it's cold and you're with people you care about. Like that's that's it.
I do have a question about beer though.
Yeah.
What are like the beers that are always in your fridge that you always go back to? If you're loading up your fridge with 3 beers that you're just gonna like not crazy, you're not gonna bring into parties, you're just like drinking one a week, every once in a while,
Boddington's.
Yeah.
So,
It's like a shitty but also really entertaining beer.
What is it? Is it like
makes it
basically?
Is it a wheat or?
It is basically a lager.
Okay.
It is like a British style lager, so it's in like a tall can. It's basically like.
Was that the yellow can with the ball in it? Yeah,
it's
got a
basically
little
like
ball.
if a
Like good
Guinness was a lager.
interesting.
Yeah.
So like
Kinda
you'll
milky?
pour instead of like pouring it down the side or something, you just full up, dump the can upside down in it. It fills up, and then you just watch little bubbles as they slowly like.
Yeah, it's
Interesting.
pretty good.
So it's like a nitro lager or something?
Yeah.
That's weird. All right.
Boddington's is great.
So see, I'm a horrible example of this because right now in my fridge is one more can of coffee Kolsch.
Oh, okay.
A good chunk of a case of
And it does
orange
change,
shock
too.
top, and then a bunch of PBRs. But those have been in there for actual months.
I
Those
always
are there
have.
for my birthday. When people brought over cases of that,
Yeah.
like that's what that's from.
I always have PBR. That's like the ultimate fallback. Hell or High Watermelon. I've had a lot of that, and then I always have some kind of sour, like a Gosa or like the cucumber sour.
I've been loving sours lately. They're so
me
good.
too.
I'm not a fan.
They give me acid
And then
reflux
I-
and
An
all the
acquired
fucking-
taste.
And then I'm always a big fan of the fruitier side of IPAs. I don't like the super hoppy ones, but some of those like super citrusy ones, like the Citradelic from like New Belgium and stuff. It's just really good. I love that kind of stuff. It's really refreshing. I had one. It was from a Colorado brewery, and it was lime and sea salt.
That sounds
It
really
was a
good.
lime and sea salt
Like a margarita.
kettle sour,
Nice.
and it was awesome.
Oh, I just had the one Gosa that's like aged in tequila barrels.
Really?
I had that at Angel's Trumpet. It's called the. I think it's just called the barrel aged, like sour or something, and it's by Gosa, and it's aged into, so it tastes like tequila, but it's like a sour.
So
It's crazy.
I love sours. However, there is a massive problem with sours where there is like the perfect, like it'll get better and better and better, but there's definitely a peak where it just turns into apple cider vinegar.
Yeah. So.
Consistently.
Yeah.
So one of those was Joe Filler, one of the guys that we work with, was super nerdy into beer, and then like, for all of his pros and cons, I always went to him for beer advice because he was really knowledgeable about that.
He told me about Hell or High Watermelon.
And he, and another guy we work with at A. Brown's housewarming party, showed up with these like kind of homebrewy looking bottles. And was like, yep, it's this like kind of rare sour that this brewery from, I think he's from like Washington or something, that like they only make whenever. My dad shipped them down, like it's crazy good, like whatever, blah blah blah. And it was literally apple cider vinegar, and it was not great
It is
at all.
Barrel aged sours, which are far more expensive. I've spent
Yeah, like whiskey
I
barrel,
spent like
right?
$30 on a bottle, like not. I mean, it was slightly larger than your standard
Like a
like beer
growler
bottle,
sort of
but
thing.
yeah, like 32-ounce growler.
Was it that same size bottle that like the Arrogant Bastard comes in, like those big ones?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, it was basically like a 32-ounce.
Okay,
growler.
cool. Yeah.
So like a bomber.
Oh, a bomber. Yeah. Okay, cool.
I spent $30 on a bomber,
Fuck.
which was a barrel-aged sour from Two Brothers.
Two
And I was
Brothers.
Like, oh man, this.
Yeah, you're getting exhaust for your motorcycle.
And it was. It just tastes like apple cider vinegar, and it was a waste of money.
So I'm like on the exact opposite of the realm. I like much more malty beers, stouts, porters are my favorite.
It's too hot for that now. Give me winter, and I drink dark beer. When it gets colder, I drink dark
A stout
beer.
porter for me is good all year round. Like I don't like IPAs.
Dude.
I don't like IPAs.
Oh,
Getting
not
close
a
to
fan.
October.
Unless
Yeah.
American stouts are the best thing ever.
I do love one of my favorite things is at Mellow Mushroom. They do their Irish car bombs, the left-hand
They
milk
have a
stout.
great happy hour, by the way.
They do the reverse happy hour.
Yeah, dude.
Have I told you about this? So we always went up to the one in Happy Valley during my senior year of college. Second semester, I spent $600 there.
How?
With happy hour.
That's impressive.
That's how
Wait,
much I was there.
Okay,
Oh,
for
like
those
the
of you who
whole
don't
thing.
know, like Mellow Mushroom
I thought it was
happy hour or reverse happy hour is like 10 p.m. to close, and everything is like half off.
Yeah, so it's and actually a really good spot because they have I think like 50 beers on tap. It's
Yeah,
like
they have a
rotating
good
tap.
draft selection.
And so at one point I kept one of their beer menus and would show up and cross off and just drink through the whole menu. Got to the point where it kind of upsetting, but I would show up and like I'd sit down. It'd be like a different group of people I was with, and the guy would come up and be like, "Oh, hey man," you're like, "Oh, fuck."
you know me.
Yeah.
50 beers down, 80
but
beers to go.
$600 in beer and pretzels and drinks and stuff, and like we went there a lot.
They have a good lager cheese.
Yeah, their beer cheese,
I hate nacho cheese, but lager
their
cheese.
their PBR cheese. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would call PBR a lager, but
It's an American adjunct lager. That's its
Is
classification.
it really? I thought it was a Pilsner
Yeah.
or a wheat.
it's
thought
closer
it
to a
It
Pilsner.
was water.
Hey, now
No,
those are
no.
fighting words.
You can spice up. Have you ever had a PBR teeny where you dump all the juice?
Is that
into it?
spicy water? is that spicy drink from our first
Spicy drink is where you sprinkle like
our first episode? Me and Colin were at dollar or 99-cent store.
Watching it.
Yeah, and we got if
seen the
you've
first
been
one.
watching, but it was like one of those Michelada cups that's like
Spicy
pre-made,
beer.
and then you add your own beer to it. And it's supposed to be good. It's not. It wasn't good.
Michelada. I've never heard of it.
Oh, okay. So in the hierarchy of breakfast drinks, there are
Mimosas.
mimosas, there
Bloody
are
Marys.
Bloody Marys, and Micheladas are the third.
That's kind of it.
Okay.
They are a lime chili salt beer kind of
clam
juice.
it's Mexican, yeah.
With
But
clam
that
juice
is
in
but
it.
with clam juice in it usually. So that is the
Actually
third.
Really, really good.
I haven't had a
If
real
you
one.
get them like in Mexico or something like.
But here they're not good.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you could get a good one here.
No,
if
but
you're
but
getting
Spicy
one from
Cup
a
was
dollar
not
store
good.
That just basically has like.
We have a Mothy boy flying around
Fuck,
here.
it's happening.
Basically,
There's stalls
I
right
looked
there.
this up because I was concerned because we have a lot of moths. But on the Phoenix subreddit, is everyone saying why are there so many moths? And they say that's just what happens. So I'm not super concerned that we have an infestation
just
or
what we
anything.
deal with
Apparently,
here.
there's just moths here. Shout out Mothy boys. Yeah. But yeah, no, so the Michelada is the third in the trinity of breakfast alcohol beverages, which I did not know. So I still haven't had a real one.
Like some,
Actually, no, I have. I had a real Michelada. I had one at that overpriced new taco place. It's like Taco Chico or whatever on Roosevelt.
yeah,
Something like that. I went there with a friend and got a Michelada. And that place was like $3, and my Michelada, my bill was like $25.
What?
It was pretty brutal.
Oh, what the fuck?
Tacos were okay. Not as good as gay tacos. Not as authentic as gay
We should.
tacos.
Are we doing?
I
Are
like
we
to.
podcasting next Friday again?
We can. I don't know.
We should make actual micheladas.
Yeah, let's do
test
it.
them out.
We'll do that.
With
Try
clam
it
juice
out.
and shit.
Totally. Yeah.
Kind of sounds like a catastrophe to me.
You're not
honestly.
invited. No,
That's
okay.
fine.
No, you can come.
Whatever.
You can show up, Donley.
Dude, I love this. This is fun.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And then it's totally listen back and you're like, oh shit.
I don't even know if I'll listen to myself because I don't know if I want to know what I sound like.
Yeah, it's
It's
fine
interesting.
once
You say I sound
You always
Canadian.
sound dumber than you
So
think you
so
do.
Donley has this really interesting inflection at the end of his speech.
Does not include A.
Only,
goes,
but
"Hey."
no, but it's only
Hey,
when
what are you doing, eh?
it's only when he's asking questions, and only when that question is not part of a separate train or part of the same train of thought. It's only when he comes in with a separate train of thought and he says, for example, it'd be like, so we're podcasting, and he does like that kind of thing. And it's really interesting to me because you're not Canadian.
But see, I always learned like questions you're supposed to accentuate, like to make it
But-
just make it
a
known that
different
it's a
kind of-
question.
But if it's this is the timeline of so we're podcasting. You do like so we're podcasting, and you like plateau on it. It's really interesting
So we're podcasting.
and not bad. I find it very endearing, but I don't think you've done it yet. Otherwise, I would have been
I
like,
haven't asked many questions.
no, you really haven't.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, that's
Unrelated to what we were just talking
But
That's
it
a
always
good question.
it always does that if it always does that like at work if we're like sitting or something or someone's like doing something and he cuts in with just a separate question. It ends up having that tone, and I just smile. It makes me
And then he
happy.
says, eh?
No, it
He
doesn't.
doesn't, he doesn't,
Hey,
he doesn't
boy!
say A.
Keep me around long enough. Maybe the viewers will be able to.
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. So,
The viewers. Viewer.
The viewer.
well, hi James.
Hi, James.
The viewer is classic.
So yeah, this is the podcast. It's pretty free.
By the way, you
form.
guys paying me for my time here?
Yeah,
Right? How does this
absolutely.
work?
Yeah, yeah.
Too
You're
much.
welcome.
Yeah,
Best
you'll,
payment ever.
you'll get a cut of the ad revenue from the show.
Yeah.
Thanks, James.
Like
Thanks, James.
1 penny.
Yeah.
If that.
If you like this, James, join our Patreon. No.
We
So,
gotta have him on. We having James on sometime?
We need to. We had him on the
need to.
Lost episodes. We did a Let's Play kind of thing where we played video games on camera.
Yeah, you're talking
And then
about
it
that.
just like didn't go anywhere
Colin
because
deleted
Colin
all the footage.
fucked it up.
My computer's working again. I will get it done.
Here's something we can
Just
talk.
push
Here's
the
something we
link.
can talk about, Donley.
Oh, shit.
We can push them to the side a little bit. Motorcycles.
Colin was waiting for this.
Colin was
I
waiting
was,
for this
and I never
for
got the
sure.
chance to leave the room and get more to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, orange.
I haven't had anyone on here who can like actually talk about motorcycles a little bit.
Yeah. So
You have a Yamaha Bolt.
I do.
And for anyone who doesn't really know, and this would be the perfect time for pictures. But basically, picture your kind of generic Harley without all the big stuff on it. Your generic smaller Harley.
Cool.
It is the Japanese version of that is literally better in every way.
Yeah, it is very much a basic bike, but it is a great day-to-day bike. It is
Looks
quite
cool.
torquey,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have the loud, obnoxious, crazy vibrations that you would get with a Harley. Like it's more well built.
And because literally in every single way, it has better servicing time. Like you need to maintain it
It's
less.
like 6,000 miles.
It makes
Crazy.
more power. It's
Yep.
probably, I think it has a better suspension and brakes and stuff.
Yeah, so there's different
But-
versions of it.
And cheaper, right?
Yeah, out the door it was like 7-8 grand.
That's
which
not
is
bad at
crazy.
all for a new bike.
I mean, if you're thinking the equivalent is the 883 Harley,
Right.
which is out the door probably closer to like, I don't know, 12.
And then the
maybe.
one that looks closer to, I don't think they're that much. Probably maybe 9 or 10.
Still more expensive,
More
but not
expensive.
as much power.
Yeah.
Not as much torque. But yeah, I've had quite a few bikes in my life, and this has definitely been one of those favorites. And it's also my first ever brand new vehicle I've ever bought too, so that's also interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I find motorcycles to be a really interesting. It's like motorcycles and cars are really interesting kind of chunks of society because everyone has a story or something to say on them.
It's either
Like-
you love it or you hate it though too. Like you have those people who are like massive haters. of
There's a
bikes.
decent amount of apathy, you know. There's a lot of people where maybe a slight amount of fondness, but it's like my uncle used to ride a bike that looked like yours, and like because mine's kind of in that weird looks from the front, kind of old school, but then is like also kind of sporty, and so like oh that looks kind of like the one my like uncle had, you
Right.
know, and like he died on it, and you're like oh, okay great,
Yeah.
but like
Oh, man.
that happens a lot. Like
Yeah.
oh like I know someone that died. You're like great,
And I
like,
think that's
me
the thing.
too.
Is,
You know?
I think that's why there is like a lot of hate too. Is like a lot of people have bad experiences with them.
And also kind of a piece of Americana that I think has been not fully embraced by current pop culture that much. Because everyone wants to go, especially we talk about kind of like clothes and style and stuff. So much of like a current look is kind of that James Dean, like kind of denim jacket, skinny jean, black t-shirt, you know, kind of look, right?
Right.
So much of it's that, and so much of that was like British motorcycle, Triumph, Harley,
Right, Mortons.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, like kind of that cigarette smoking bad boy kind of thing.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of that kind of culture has evolved with pop culture, right? So like most of us who are like really into motorcycles, it's not from like a cigarettes bad boy kind of thing, but it still is that like this person thinks about life in a little bit of a different way because they're doing something that's fun and dangerous and still having dangerous things in a pretty safe culture.
But that's the thing is like motorcycling in general is actually not that dangerous. It's really the other people on the road who are just completely oblivious to what's going on.
Well, and the crash statistics of if you are not drunk and you wear a helmet, it's like 75% less dangerous.
Yeah.
Like a big chunk of the death statistics are from like bar crawling Harley guys who just die on impact, you know? Like a low speed like flip over. Or like I crashed at 70 but I was wearing helmet and gear and I was fine.
Yeah.
Or like they just like their head explodes, you know?
we could take this in so many different directions.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you want to talk about safety and stuff, I wear a helmet honestly for the sole fact of I don't want bugs in my teeth.
And sunburn, right?
Yeah, like there's...
It's just dumb to not wear a helmet.
Right,
You know?
I mean...
It's kind of like not putting on your
Go to the
seatbelt.
bathroom,
All you do
talk
is...
amongst yourselves.
Like, all you do is this, to put on a seatbelt, and then you don't die. And all you do is put on a helmet for a
Right,
motorcycle,
like there's
and then
more
you don't
reasons
die.
to wear one than not to not wear one. Like
there's really no reason.
So I actually forgot my helmet at work last night. I locked up, forgot my key, so I couldn't get back in. And long story short, I didn't want to set off the alarm again at my office.
Just gotta put a bandana on. That'll protect you.
No. But it was honestly like a miserable ride home last night.
Just weird.
Like I couldn't hear anything. It was just wind in my ears, and I don't know. It wasn't as enjoyable. But yeah, now I have no one to talk about motorcycles about.
Yeah, I don't know anything about motorcycles. You looked pretty cool riding up on it the other day, though.
I don't know what buttons is it. I don't want to end this.
Trying to switch.
Shit, it's not. That's not. Oh, there it is. Wait. No. Fuck. Oh, there it is. Okay.
You're gonna fucking.
Oh, so what kind of bicycle do you ride, right?
Yo, I rode a.
Do a little role playing here.
I ride a real hot motorcycle. This purple. And okay, take it away. Here we go.
What?
I'm just trying to get into a real hot conversation.
The conversation really didn't go much when you left.
That's okay.
Well,
nobody knows about motorcycles. So.
I have something unrelated to motorcycles
You're good.
to talk about. But I don't
we can totally transition.
Okay.
I will add the one note. I find motorcycles to be really important working in a self-driving car world because it reminds me that there's some things that we will not be able to replace. And that some things can exist for the sole factor of like fun.
I wish we really had that monitor because I actually saw very recently last week BMW. Yeah, they turned a GS into a self-driving motorcycle.
But it won't. But it doesn't need to exist.
Right, that's the thing. Like, what's the point? You know?
Right,
like,
and that's what I like about it. It's like no one's gonna put the money into making a fully functional self-driving motorcycle product.
Because
that doesn't make sense.
What's the point? Purpose, you know?
Well, Ghost Rider was the reason that we hired Travis at Uber. His project, his self-driving motorcycle was his baby project that led to him working for Google.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Travis
Travi?
Old really?
Yeah, that was his OG project.
Interesting.
Really? Old Travi?
Shout out to TK, who is no longer the CEO, but was a bangin' of a dude, liked to have a lot of fun.
Did you ever meet him?
No, I saw him in person, but never actually got to meet him.
I never saw him in person.
He was a quite busy guy.
Seemed like kind of a lovable piece of shit.
Yeah, like
we're all gonna get ready.
That's a valid argument. Like you either love him or you hate him. Like he was a young guy. He definitely has that startup mentality. Like let's have fun, let's enjoy this. But not very good at maintaining a project.
But I don't know. I don't know if you could ever functionally have a startup with that kind of actual attitude. Right? Because I feel like at a certain point you end up attracting the people that have the work hard, play hard. But an imbalance, right? There is harmony to that, and I don't think that the way, at least the way that I experienced Uber through some of that cultural kind of stuff, I don't think it was like that kind of thing. I feel like it attracted the party hard people that then had to force into the work hard. You know?
Yeah, and I think that goes for a lot of startups. I mean, in Travis's defense, he was a great guy, and Uber would not be where it is if it wasn't for him. But he was going through a lot of shit at the time.
He had a lot. This is what his parents. Did both his parents end up passing?
It was his mother.
Mom.
His mother. So it was a really freak accident.
Boat accident, right?
Yeah. So his parents went on a boat with their dog, and like the dog's leash got wrapped up in the steering wheel, and like forced it into a rock or something, and like the mom died on impact. Very sad story.
But did you read the story about like what happened after the accident?
No.
Like the dad was seriously injured.
Oh yeah, they were both definitely injured.
But was carrying the mother in the water for like an hour before somebody found them, like trying to like swim.
And this is all while like they're kind of already forcing him out of the company.
A bunch of shit happened. That's when like the sexual scandal allegations and stuff were happening, the sexual harassment and the.
And the Uber, like he had an incident with another Uber driver who was like calling him out on his shit, saying he wasn't getting paid enough while he was in the backseat. But yeah, like I don't know, like I feel.
Okay, it reminded me kind of the Christian Bale, like lights on set or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? When Christian Bale just like freaks out. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
No, it was totally different though.
What was that? Wait, explain that.
He's like, I'm a fucking actor, and he's like screaming at like the lighting guy or something like that.
No, yeah, that was like his big.
The boom mic guy.
I think it
was like the boom like came in and they had to like redo it. He's like, why the fuck is the boom in the shot? I'm an actor, and like did this whole free, and you're like, oh my god.
But I feel like in that situation,
do we have any more mimosa stuff?
What?
Do we have any more champagne?
Yeah, will you just bring the orange?
Or just OG?
No.
I just want orange
We
juice.
have OJ though.
I have vodka. Hey.
Wait, do you have orange juice?
What? Yeah, just got you orange.
I don't. Yeah.
So should we take a break with this, or where are we going with this?
Keep talking.
I myself have to go to work because I'm an actor. I have a job.
Oh, you do, don't you?
I do.
Wait, what time?
I think we should probably close this out and maybe start a new one.
All right. Well, so there you go.
All right, guys.
Thanks for watching this episode.
Thanks for checking us out.
Bye, James. Thanks.
Yeah, we're gonna record another one. We always record these in twos just so that we don't have to meet that often because life is tough. But thanks for watching. Find us on my YouTube channel if you're listening to the audio, and find us on pretty much everything at Demonetized Podcast if you are trying to just find the audio for it. Once again, our tagline is surprisingly listenable. So, if you
I was surprised.
If you want to hang out with all your friends at the old podcast table, you got Nick. You got
ask us.
Say bye, Colin.
Hey, bye, James. I mean, bye, listeners.
And then we got. Thanks for being here, Riker. It's always good to see you.
Yeah, for sure. I love it.
And Donley, how did episode 1 go for you? First podcast.
I really have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you're good.
I mean, this has been very enjoyable. This is good. I think it doesn't seem much different than our normal communication, though. Honestly.
No, you just have to talk.
You just have to like hang it like this.
Yep.
When you have 3 microphones.
And there you go. Well, thanks everybody. Have a good week. See you later. Bye.